Hi guys, I'm Brandon. This is the other 167, and I'm glad you've tuned in. Okay, so fornication feels good. Okay, fornication feels good. Now, as I said, this is part two of the series, and as I always say this, if you've not watched the previous part, sometimes it can be a little challenging to follow up with this part. So, I hope someday you've had the time to go through the previous part. So fornication feels good. Now I've put this in inverted commas for the simple reason it is not something that I believe it is, but it is. I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of people, a lot of us as Christians, and a lot of us who struggle with sexual immorality. We go by these convictions. It feels good, right? If it feels good, why? What's probably wrong with it? Maybe it's not wrong because it feels good, right? And we know that good is good and bad is bad, but not everything that feels good is good. We all know that. So fornication feels good, right? Now the main point over here is like the Garden of Eden. Okay, so fornication feels good like the Garden of Eden. Now remember one thing, that uh, in the Garden of Eden, the fruit did not taste bad. I'm sure the fruit tasted good. The apple tasted good, and fruit by and of it, in and of itself, is not bad. We know that. So the fruit, in and of itself, represents a creation of God. It is God's creation. It is good for your health. Now that particular fruit was a test of faith, and it was where the knowledge of sin and where the knowledge of good and evil came in. So now, fornication feels good. Now, as I stated in the previous part, that the Bible actually, that fornication and sexual immorality are synonymous. Now we think that's fornication, or at least the general uh, definition of fornication is that it's simply getting physical with someone or having sex with someone before marriage. But actually, fornication and sexual immorality are synonymous words. Now, sexual in the Bible, according to Scripture, and in the Bible, sexual immorality is any act which is, whether it's self-stimulation, whether it is pornography, whether it is adultery, whether it is sleeping with someone, whether it's even maybe just caressing someone in a sexual way when you're not married yet. Now, all of those things are a sin. That's fornication. That's the broad terminology of fornication. So, fornication feels good. Now, why it feels good is because even in the Garden of Eden, the apple felt good to eat. The apple was enticing, it was tempting, it was all of these things. And so, sin, sin always feels good in the start, but it brings forth death. So, sin entices you with something, but it brings forth destruction. It has a dead end. It does not go forward. It has nothing everlasting. It has nothing ahead or beyond or past that. It always ends right there. It feels horrible right there. It feels death. It is death right there. So sin always has an enticing feeling. It feels good. It looks good. There's every reason under the sun to sort of go for it, to want it, to desire to devour it. When it's fulfilled, James chapter 1, I guess, when it's fulfilled, it brings forth death. It brings forth despair. So fornication feels good just like the Garden of Eden. So like even in the Garden of Eden, they had every reason. So now, sin at large in our life is always the Garden of Eden feeling thing. Because in the Garden of Eden, they didn't quite see what was going to come after that. They didn't see the destruction. They didn't see death after that. They didn't see, uh, what was going to happen to their souls. What was going to happen to their uh, what was going to happen to their soul? Yes, and what was going to happen to their bodies, because God gave the penalty of death, or rather, death came forth because of sin. Our bodies ceased to exist in this world because of sin. So that's the penalty God has given us. And so fornication. So when we sin, when we fornicate, when we have sexual relations and sexual acts outside of the will of God, it's always enticing. It's always a Garden of Eden feeling there. You always want it, but then later on it brings forth despair. So Romans 6:19. Now remember, Adam and Eve yielded to the devil. They became a slave to the devil. When they obeyed the voice of the snake, they became a slave to the devil. So they gave in to what was wrong. They gave in to lies, deception, a facsimile of what is not the will of God. And so fornication is like a facsimile. It's like this amazing thing that we see before us, but it's not the will of God, and it brings forth death, it brings forth brokenness. Our spirit is broken, and then God repairs it, God brings it all together again, and we feel and we are then renewed, and then God restores us under the new birth, under grace. So Romans 6:19 says, I speak after the manner of men because of the infirmity of your flesh. For as you have yielded your members servants to uncleanness and to iniquity unto iniquity, even so now yield your members servants to righteousness unto holiness. So if you yield yourself to the evil one, you will become his slave. If you yield yourself to God, you will become God's servant. You will become a friend of God. You will become you will become a child of God, because then you're obviously yielding to God. So fornication does not, it may feel good, it may have all these temporary feelings or whatever of ecstasy and all of that, but it is a lie. The very statement fornication feels good is a lie actually. It is not good for you. It is evil, it is satanic, it's out of this world, and sexual sin has to be addressed. Do not take sexual sin lightly in your life. I hope this video has helped you, and God bless you. An amazing week ahead. I look forward to having you in the next part. Thank you.